Hi guys, and welcome to today's pick a card reading. My name is Ellie and it's an absolute honor to be reading for you today. So 2 weeks ago, I've done something I've never done before with a client of mine, and we were talking together about non-human past life. And I've done a reading about this topic for her, and I thought that it was so fun that I had to create a pick a card reading about this subject for you guys. That's basically what is happening. So this experience really got me thinking about Starseed energy, and I've also, over the last few weeks, I've watched like a couple of movies that made me think of that as well. I've watched Everything Everywhere All at Once, which is such a good movie, by the way, and it speaks of like parallel realities and stuff like that. And obviously I also went to the theater like most people, and I went to watch the Avatar movie that just came out as well. And it just really got me thinking about this subject, and I find it funny because it's like in my reality right now, it seems like I'm surrounded by this kind of topic all of a sudden, and I guess I'm going to take that as a sign. I do feel like there are souls that incarnated on other planets and that are quite new here to this plane that we call the Earth experience. So call them lives on other dimensions, other galaxies, other universes, other planes. I feel like if we incarnated here, having this human experience, which is a very specific type of experience, right? And if we are sharing this world with like a bunch of different species, you know, we share this world with animals, with insects, with plants, and all of these other beings have their own experiences here as well, then I just think that this theory makes a lot of sense to me. Then why not, right? Why does like life on planets should only evolve around this planet Earth, right? We are in a galaxy that is in constant expansion, and isn't that magical onto its own? So I respect everybody's beliefs. So I would say that obviously this is not a reading for everybody, right? And it's not meant to be a reading for everybody, obviously. But I just wanted to create it nonetheless for those of you who really resonate with this concept. And I also wanted to say that this reading is not meant for if you want to like figure out if you had a non-human past life experience. This reading, if you come into it, then I am assuming that a part of you intuitively feels like it knows that it had a non-human past life incarnation. And if you come in here in this reading, then that's assuming that you feel like you've had one of these experiences. Now, I also want to precise that I won't be naming any kind of like starseed, star system or starseed names or anything like that. Because sincerely, if I want to be honest with you guys, I feel like this word, you know, starseed, like I'm using it right now to try to describe the concept to you, right? Because it's just practical. But personally, I do feel like this concept is, it goes a lot beyond than what we may be able to conceptualize with our human brain. And I just think that it goes a lot beyond what we may imagine. And I just feel like those names are kind of restrictive, and they're kind of limitative, and they're kind of sometimes one box fits all. I think that they are sometimes a bit shallow and they lack a bit of details or a bit of substance. That's my opinion, all right? And that's not to say that if you identify as a Pleiadian starseed or Lyrian starseed or whatever, that this is wrong of you to believe that. You know, continue to believe what you want to believe. And this reading is not to deny that at all. You know what you've been through intuitively. You have that intuitive inner sense, and you've got to trust in that. It's just that for me, I think that it would be wrong of me to assume that I know, you know, the secrets of the universe and everything like that. Like I'm just a human being, you guys, trying to figure it out just like everybody else. And yes, I'm a tarot reader. Yes, I'm a spiritual practitioner, but I just want to keep this reading humble and as empowering for you as I can. And so that's why I feel like I want this reading to remain the guide, not the answer. That's very important for me. And I think that this is how it may most benefit you. And I also want this reading to be a bit more detailed and a bit more in depth than what you may find out there about starseeds online when you tap on Google or with what you read in books. Because again, I just think that these descriptions are quite limitative, and sometimes I don't know what may come up in the cards, right? And I just want my intuition to flow with that, you guys. I think that sometimes labels are quite restrictive and limitative, and I think that sometimes when we attach ourselves so much to them that they become our identity, it can become difficult to break away from them, and those labels can come to hinder us more than they help us grow and expand. And also, obviously, this being a general reading, there are four piles over here, you guys. So obviously, all of you must have had, differences here and there from your origin. So that's what I wanted to let you know before I even get started. Before I go to the pile selection or anything else, I just wanted to really clarify that for you guys so that you know what to expect. So that being said, in a moment you will have the four screens on the four piles on the screen. You will have four screens on the pile. I'm already on another galaxy right now. So you will have the four piles, and you will have a moment to tune in with your intuition, to get to pick the pile that you resonate with the most. And once this is done, head down into the description box down below and click on the timestamp associated with your pile, and I shall see you all on your reading. Welcome into your reading, pile 1. So today we are taking a look at your non-human past life experience, and any memories associated with that, that your higher self will wish to share with me today. So I'm going to start with your tarot cards as well as an archetypal card to also figure out the kind of energy you incarnated as, and what was this world like for you and this life like for you. And then also at the end, I'm going to reveal your oracle cards to see if any other messages want to come through about the lessons and experiences that your soul came to draw from that specific incarnation. Because I believe that no incarnation is ever accidental. And each one of them, human or not, we come to kind of like pick up a piece to the puzzle, to the soul's mission, because our spirit in this incarnation has its own separate mission, but our soul has a big picture mission that concerns all incarnation as a whole, past, present, and future. So keep that in mind during this reading, all right? But if you guys are ready, let's get started to see. I was about to say who you were, but what you were in this incarnation, I guess, is more appropriate to say. Yeah, but let's get started. So you guys received the Tower, then we have the Knight of Wands, then we have the Eight of Crystals, and that's known as the Eight of Pentacles in a traditional tarot deck. Then we have Justice. Finally, we have the Angel. And this card says, you may soon encounter a person or event that will benefit you in ways that seem to have angelic origins. You may be called to be an angel. Wow, pile 1. Look at that. With the Angel as an archetypal energy to describe your non-human past life, this is interesting. I feel that in your non-human life, you were a very high vibrational, very ascended type of being. Pawan, like an angelic type of being. And by angelic, I mean, well, For me personally, I have to admit to you guys that I've always considered angels to be high vibrational beings, period. But I don't refer to angels as the, Christian version of angels, like with Archangel Michael and Raphael and all of that good crew. All of that good crew of buddies, like the typical biblical white gym buddies, like the buff dudes with angel wings. Like, not that there's anything wrong with some people to work with that version of related to angels as well, or to relate to that depiction of angels. But for me personally, like, I've never related with that image of angels, so I just don't relate to them as that. Like, for me, angels are just very, very high vibrational beings. And every time I come into contact with this kind of energy in my life, like for me personally, because I know that this experience will be, it will look different for everyone, but I tend to feel wrapped in a light, and it's almost like a blinding kind of light. So as soon as I saw this card come out for you, I knew immediately that you were a being that lived an incarnation in the higher planes. So you may have come from a plane or a reality or a world that is a lot more ascended than here in this human type of reality. And it's almost that fallen angel type of energy that I'm sensing here with your cards too, where it's almost as though you were a soul that descended from your world and into this one to get to work with this Eight of Crystals. So it must have been quite an energetic shock for you to come down here from such a high realm and to drop and find yourself in a much lower vibrational world. But to me, this feels like you were sent here. Pawan, you were sent from your world to come down here to fight the good fight, in a sense, kind of like you did in your non-human incarnation. Because this non-human lifetime for you was tough work. It was very demanding, and hard work is what I see with this Eight of Crystals here. And I also see with this Tower, the Knight of Wands, and this card of Justice, that this was a life spent battling and fighting intense forces of energies. And what I mean by that is that I feel that you were going head to head with great darkness and possibly even great evil. And that past experience, do you see how on this Tower card here, we have like this white and black moon, and they're kind of both like shooting down lightning bolts, their own separate ways, right? On each side of this tower. So it's almost like this tower is creating a separation here in between this light and this darkness. And to me, what this made me think of immediately was duality. I feel that you come from a world where duality also existed, kind of like here in our realm, where polarities existed, where there was light and dark, or black and white, good and bad, positive and negative, love and hate, peace and war. So this world that you come from isn't that much different than this one we live in right now. However, I do feel the energetic shock for you because there is a big energetic difference with how the duality is lived here compared to this higher realm that you have experienced in your non-human past life. So I find that interesting because your spread so far almost makes me think of the great beyond in Christianity. And I'm not a Christian myself, like you may have guessed, but it really made me think of that. And I do not discriminate against like any type of religion, me being a spiritual person, but it really makes me think of that. So, I do believe that, I say this often, and if you have seen like my personal paranormal experiences video, you probably heard me say that before, but I actually believe like that we are in a spiritual warfare, not only on this earth, but beyond as well, on the soul level, and possibly in other incarnations too. Not all of them maybe, but some of them at the very least. And I do feel that this spiritual warfare carries on even after a lifetime here in the spirit realm. And this non-human incarnation that I see here for you, it really feels like the great beyond for some reason. Like, if I were you, Pawan, I would definitely do some research about Earth Angel souls, Earth Angel energy, because there are these souls that incarnated into a human form here, that are believed to be descended angels, angels that decided to take on a human form to carry out their battle for the good, for the justice, for the absolution in a physical form on this realm, to kind of like rebuild from the chaos, the destruction and upheaval of this world too. I have just heard for you with this Tower card. And I kind of believe strongly in that theory, me personally, especially with what I have experienced in a couple of readings before that I've made for people. And I do feel that they are people who actually have this angelic essence about their soul. Like, I feel that for you in your cards here, that are like descendants, if you will, from the beings we call angels. And I think that you may be one of them. This non-human lifetime feels extremely ethereal, but it also feels very black and white, again with this Tower card here. Not only with this Tower card actually, but also with this card of Justice here, because Justice is a card that strongly refers to karma, and a lot of people tend to omit that about this card for some reason, but it's a big part of what Justice is, and people normally associate karma with the Wheel of Fortune instead, much more than Justice. But to me, Justice is a different kind of karma than with the Wheel of Fortune. While the Wheel of Fortune, it speaks of cycles and like patterns that we can observe in nature and in the universe and in life itself. You know, what goes around comes around, right? But such is the law of our realm here. While Justice speaks of consequences, good and bad is a very abstract concept, because sometimes what is good or bad will change from person to person, depending on our education, our upbringing, our values, our morals and society standards. But whether we do good or bad, Justice says that there are always consequences to our actions and choices. Whether good or bad, these consequences are a law that we cannot escape. So that's why I'm saying that this was a very black and white world. It seems like this scale next to Justice almost makes me think of, like, you know, weighting the heart with the feather, kind of like in the ancient Egyptian spiritual system. It's like this non-human past life in which you incarnated as a higher being fighting for the greater good. Feels like a world where there was definitely some kind of higher moral system or rules to abide by. And to me, it definitely feels with this angel card like you definitely worked very hard at fighting the good side of the fight in that past incarnation. And I'm even hearing training for you. Almost like this lifetime train you for what was to come after, probably with your incarnations on Earth here. The Tower also speaks to me about a great cataclysm that happened in your world somehow. So, oh my God, okay. I wonder if your realm got destroyed or endangered, or maybe it was beyond salvation, and you fought hard to save it, to salvage it, to rebuild it with this Knight of Wands and Eight of Crystals. And I see some kind of disaster that happened with this Tower here because of the forces you were going up against. And your higher self is telling me right now that after this destruction happened with the Tower, you tried to bring back some kind of order amongst that chaos with Justice. So it seems like in that non-human incarnation, your experience was really focused on playing this Justice-like character, ruling for higher morals, fighting for some kind of higher order, enforcing some kind of divine law. like I said, it really makes me think of like the Christian life after death concept here, like where there is light and darkness, or heaven or hell, like kind of like clashing together, like this light and this darkness just clashing against each other. And a lot of people think that on Earth, us humans, we reproduce this same kind of spiritual paradigm, if you will, a spiritual warfare, but on a different level. And it's kind of what I see here for you, Pawan. Like you came down here to fight the same fight that you did in your non-human incarnation. You know, that it looked like you were really enforced, like into like you were really enforced in that light army. Somehow, and you know, you kind of like come back here to fight the same fight, but on a different scale now. It's like you came back down here to be a soldier for the same kind of higher moral compass, or for the same kind of goal, if you will, spiritual goal. And it's that higher moral compass is something you used to operate by in your non-human incarnation, which is why in this current lifetime, you could be noticing a lot of injustices that need to be corrected. Yeah, but let's dive into your oracle cards, you guys, because I'm curious to see what else your cards will have to say about this soul experience. We have here protection, and this card says call back your power, cut the cords, soul retrieval. Yeah. Then we have you're already doing it, and it says here stop overthinking, keep facing your true north. Then we have imbalance. Oh my god, there's this scale, the same scale as justice. And like I've just said earlier, like, you know, like in ancient Egypt, when they were like trying to weigh the heart and the feather, that's literally what we have here. That's creepy. Damn. This is powerful, guys. This reading is powerful. We have here, give it time. Then we have the castle. And we have the lover. Okay. You guys definitely have the energy of a light worker. Clearly. And that's because of your soul's origin. In this past incarnation, you are trying to repair a very, very important imbalance in your realm. And I don't know if you failed to do so, and maybe that the fight got transferred here, or maybe that you just decided, maybe that you were just sent here as a soldier of your cause, but in this realm. But I feel like it could have been harder in this human incarnation to be a light, or to keep your light, and to kind of like try to be this this angel amongst the darkness that keep overpowering a lot of hopes here. And this card here of you are already doing it, keep facing your true north, confirms to me that in this human lifetime that you're currently living, you are aligned with a very similar path than you were, and that's not in that non-human experience. You are almost continuing that starseed incarnation, Pawan, but from a human perspective now. So if you felt drawn to Pawan, you guys have been in your mission already. I feel very strongly. If not, like, I think you've chosen the right path. Like, I do feel like you guys who have been drawn to Pawan, you guys have been in your mission, whether you are aware of this or not. And you have been the healer or light worker somewhere for a very long time already. And you will strongly resonate with that if you keep feeling like in this incarnation, you are getting tired of being the mediator, of being the optimistic light amongst people who are very pessimistic, or who have already given up to that kind of like darkness that they are fighting in this life, of being the peacemaker of being the one that needs to repair the broken vases for people who are unaware that they are unethical or are completely blind to the consequences of their own actions. The repercussions that those actions and choices have on the world and reality around them. And so you may feel like you are in that role in your family or at work or in your community, and it's getting tiring for you sometimes. And I also feel that you will resonate with that if you are a very, very empathic soul. And if it's been difficult for you to try to raise boundaries with this card here of protection in between yourself and what others are going through from time to time. With this card of castle too, it makes me think of 4 walls here that this person is like kind of like caged in or protected in, most likely because castles serve as that, right? Castle serves as protection from potential attacks, right? Back then it was used for that. And we have the card of protection here right next to it. So this is talking about boundaries somehow, like your boundaries, part 1. Like it's been difficult to establish them. And if you feel like it's sometimes difficult to protect yourself from damaging souls, and like you have this urge to get involved to try to save these people because you can see the goodness in them, I feel like you're going to resonate with that. Part 1, you came back here with the same light inhabiting you. That's why you can see the light in people who can't even see it in themselves, and see the light in things and in people where others cannot see it either. And it's going to be difficult in this lifetime to not let this light that you have get tainted or obscured or drained or weighted down by what you see and experience here as a human. Because in this lower realm, I feel like it's more difficult to differentiate the good and the bad than it was in your other realm, where in this human lifetime, there are all of these shades of gray, and gray areas and moralities are more difficult to define. So you may sometimes feel like it's difficult to rely on your judgment, like your ideas, your beliefs, what you are fighting for or advocating for is too advanced for where people are in their lives. It's too far that the majority of people don't comprehend that, you know? And sometimes it's going to feel frustrating, or like this empathy that you have is extremely burdensome. And you have been coming back here ever since that angel-like incarnation to try to correct a very deep imbalance here on this planet. But it seems sometimes like the work is infinite and will never get done. But this is not your lifetime, is what I keep hearing with this card of give it time here. This is not your time. Your teachings or your wisdom or your perspective is a bit too advanced for what people are ready to hear, is what I keep feeling for you, Pawan. And that's why you have signed up for a very, very big contract here. A contract that will most likely last a couple of human lifetimes still. And it's important that meanwhile, you do not get discouraged, because your soul knows that on a different level. Your soul knows what it signed up for. It signed up for a very big job here that isn't going to get done overnight or in the span of just one lifetime. And I feel that this is why this 8 of Crystals was here in your tarot cards for you. It's like in each lifetime you spent here, you refined or perfected your approach, and it becomes a little easier each time to work in this realm, right? To operate in this realm. But protection is really coming through here, especially from other people with this kind of the Lovers here. Protection is really coming through. And with a Castle too, like protecting your empathic heart. It's important for you to know, as a soul sensitive to other beings that is working at the same mission but in a different realm now, that you won't be able to salvage or save everything and everyone here, and that certain things and certain people are simply not meant to be salvaged or saved. And somehow I feel like this lesson has been very, very hard for you, Bawan, because in your non-human past life, your light was a lot more effective. It was a lot more easier for you to do your work and job than it is over here. And it was easier for you to heal or to transform the dark into the light over there. And here, people have free will to stay in the dark if they wish to choose the dark if they want to. And so there will be times in your life where you have to remember that sometimes all you can do for those people, especially if you love them, is to keep loving them anyway, and to not judge the path that they decided to undertake. Because on this earth, your energy will clash with a lot of different souls. And some of them, new souls, who have to make certain experiences and choices before they can come to the conclusion, or in order to know the consequences of them and learn about accountability with this justice card here. And sometimes you will only be able to sit back and watch. And sometimes all you will be able to do for these souls is wish them the best and allow the all to do the rest and take over for you. And I know how much this is hard to do. This is hard to watch when we are someone who have this knowledge or awareness that justice has, especially when we watch the people around us that we love suffer, right? But there is a law of cause and effect operating in this realm here, in this human realm. And it's going to be important to try to put your faith in it as much as you can, as hard as it will be sometimes. And you know, this law of cause and effects operate on the sense that every cause has its effect and every effect has its cause. Nothing escapes this law. It's just that there are so many different planes of causation that sometimes we won't be able to see all of the hidden forces working behind our situation. But it's important for you to remember, you know, to do your job effectively here without burning out, and to stay protected and feeling safe while giving the gift that you have to give here on earth. It's important for you to remember that you are now working in a realm where there are so many moving parts at play every time, all at the same time together. And I feel that this is a difference from your realm, from your Starseed past life Pawan. I feel that in your non-human reality, you were like in charge of incarnating or working as this justice energy. But in this lifetime, there is an even higher power at play, and it's about realizing that there is more to the great law of cause and effect than just your involvement. So the accidents, the tragedies, the destruction, the chaos with this Tower card here, and the miracles too that exist amongst that, you know, because that's important to not forget about as well. They all play out on this law, where so many moving parts are involved. And sometimes some of these parts, you will see them and be able to recognize them with your light. You will be able to do that. And sometimes you won't. Sometimes you will not be meant to even understand them. But despite all of that, it is so important to not doubt yourself, to not doubt your path, and to not doubt your mission here. And it will be important to remain patient and allow time and those other moving parts to come in at play and work with you in the same places where you can't heal or can't fix or can't necessarily save. And I feel that you have been connected to your mission here since a very young age, like I've said, like since lifetimes even already. And even when you didn't know that your empathy was part of your path, like I feel like you were still training and learning a lot from it. And the thing is, I feel that you have been doing your purpose for quite some time, whether you heal for a living or whether healing is just your lifestyle or your personality, where you do it constantly in the lives of your loved ones, because that's something important to precise. Like, I feel that we can do our job here in so many different ways, and more ways than just, you know, through our day job. And a lot of people are healers for their family, for their partner, for their children. And that's equally valid. And so whether your purpose is your day job or just a way of life here for you for now, I feel that you have been connected to it for quite some time, because you are working on a very, very big contract, like I was saying, a contract that will take many lifetimes to fulfill, is what I sense with this 8 of crystals underneath. So you have an awareness of that purpose, while a lot of people don't, because you've been working at it for a while already. And that's why it's so important for you to know that it's not all on you to change things or make things happen or make things better for people who are unconscious of themselves. Some people will be ready for you and your work, and some won't. But it's not because of you, Pawan. It's going to be vital for you to get comfortable with that reality that you are working under, because over here, the weight is not all on you. So it's very important to keep protecting your time, your energy, to keep taking care of yourself, and to keep loving yourself as much as you love others too. With this card of the Lovers here, people won't leave because you are choosing yourself before them, Pawan. And if they do, maybe it's because they were trying to get something out from you that was not yours to give to them in the first place. You know, just a few thoughts here for you. But Pawan, this is everything that I'm getting for you about your non-human past life. I want to thank you so very much for having shared this sacred space with me today. And thanks to your higher self, by the way, for the messages that it has delivered today. As usual, I will leave the links to my social medias down below if you wish to keep in touch with me, as well as the link to my online shop if you wish to book a private reading with me. And otherwise, I shall see you all soon in the next video. Bye bye, you guys. Welcome part 2 into your reading. So today we take a look at your non-human past life experience and any memories associated with that that your higher self will wish to share with me today. And I'm going to start with your tarot cards as well as an archetypal card to figure out what kind of energy you incarnated as, and what was this world like for you and this life like for you. And then at the end, I'm going to reveal your oracle cards to see if any other messages and details want to come through about the lessons or experiences that your soul came to draw from that specific incarnation, because I do think that no incarnation is ever accidental. In each and every single one of them, human or not, we come to pick up a piece of the puzzle to our soul's mission, because our spirit in this incarnation has its own mission, but our soul has a big picture mission that concerns all incarnations as a whole, so past, present, and future. So keep that in mind during the reading, all right? So if you guys are ready, let's get started to see what kind of being you were in that incarnation. And we are starting with the 5 of Swords reversed. Then we have the 3 of Cups. Then we have the Universe. And we have the card of Awakening. This card of the Awakening is the Judgment card, by the way. It replaces that. And the Universe card replaces the World in a traditional tarot deck. And finally, as an archetype, we have here the Maya. And it says, allow past mistakes to help you see through all illusions so you can understand and act upon what you know is real and what is false. All right. There are so many things coming to me right away with this, pals. First off, the non-human past incarnation that I see you live may remind you a lot about planet Earth somehow, pal, too. Like, I get the sense that this other world that you have experienced is very similar to this one. Like, there were maybe different societies with this Tree of Cups, or clans, or tribes, with each their different cultures, and even languages I'm also getting. This was a world that you were also sharing with different types of species, kind of like in this realm, you know. In this realm, we share this world with plants, with animals, with insects, in this other world too. And there was nature as well. I'm even hearing right now. And I'm getting that you were a being very closely connected to nature with this card of the Maya. Like, as soon as I saw this Maya card, actually, I got the sense of like an indigenous community or something like that. Like, people that were very closely tied to the land on a deep level. And it also made me think of like an advanced society of some kind, because like the Maya were very advanced, astrologically speaking. So yeah, it really made me think of a society that is whose science is quite advanced too, if that makes sense, or who are very advanced maybe on a spiritual level or something like that. And it's funny because you know what this makes me think of? It's making me think of those Avatar movies. Like, I think it's called it's called Pandora, the world that they live in. I just want to see it like a few weeks ago. Actually, it's like me, I'm very passionate about movies. Like, I really love watching movies, and like I do not go to watch like Avatar for necessarily like the plot line, but for me, I go there for like because the immersion is so great and the visual experience is so great, and the action too is really good. Yeah, it's a really good movie if you want to go see it. But yeah, it really made me think of those Avatar movies somehow. Like this world that they live in, like Pandora, it feels like so like a place I will definitely sit and meditate in. And I don't even know why I haven't done that yet. Probably I should do that in my plans, but yeah, this world kind of made me think of that. And I'm not saying that your non-human past life was similar to that in any way, but it's making me think of that in some way because of that indigenous note. And that feeling of being very, very close to your clan or your tribe or your community of people, and living from the land in synergy and deep connection with the land and the world that was around you, with this kind of the universe and awakening as well. But for sure, I really felt that this was a universe or other world where you and your people had this advanced way of thinking, or of connecting, or of being part of the world around you, with this Maya card, the universe and awakening. And by advance, I mean from a higher level of consciousness than we definitely have here on Earth, us humans, with the nature that surrounds us. Yeah, but science may have also been a very big thing in this other world too. And by science, I mean trying to comprehend the world that you lived in. And I also see that in this other life, there may have been people that you loved, a community, a family that you fought to protect as well, with this Five of Swords reversed right next to this Three of Cups here. And I wonder if there was some kind of war or attack that you've tried to defend yourself from with this Five of Swords reversed, because that's what the Five of Swords represent. And to me, to see this card reversed feels like trying to fend off an attack, or being the last line of defense to an attack. It feels like defense. So not only were you a very esteemed and important member of this group of people you belong to with this Three of Cups, but you also felt so connected to your clan that you took on this responsibility or job proudly. So in this other life, you could have been a very skilled warrior or fighter, especially with this Maya card and Five of Swords here. This life for you was really about preserving your way of life, I feel like. Preserving the culture, preserving the clan or the land as it was. So yeah, this other world really makes me think of planet Earth in some way, where there was societies cohabiting together, ethnicities or different species trying to coexist. In certain places, there is unity with this kind of universe and awareness. And then in the same world, there is even chaos, war, battles. So the big difference that I see, though, is that in this non-human life, you lived protected from that chaos a lot more. With this 5 of Swords reversed, this chaos feels more contained, or it feels more like external, outside of your own reality, or more detached, rather than internal and coming from your home or your community or bubble, if that makes sense. And I also see that you lived on a hyper aware scale of awareness. For when it comes to the world, you felt called to defend and preserve. You had a deeper union or sense of belonging and collaboration, but also a more personal relationship with the land and also society that surrounded you. You really felt part of something over there. So I wonder if in this human lifetime, that's what you could be struggling feeling. Maybe that in this life you're living, it's difficult for you sometimes to relate to your fellow humans or to your family or to human nature, just in general. Maybe that the only times where you truly feel at peace and connected is when you spend time out in nature or by yourself or out in the outdoor. Maybe that you even get more along with animals than you do with people. There is this big clash here, because in that non-human world, in your starseed incarnation, you felt very involved and part of something bigger than yourself. And in this world, you can see the division and how everyone is each to their own. And you can see how humans act in their own profits and interests. And so it's different than in this other world where people moved and acted or decided together as a collective. In this other world, people had an awareness of each other and everybody was treated equally, because this is what the Three of Cups talks about and is telling me here. And that's what you were used to, Paltu. You're not used to this level of individualism and selfishness that we have here in this human world. So it's pretty alienating for you as someone that learned to work as a clan or move as one collective. As someone that learned to depend on the clan as well as be dependable for your people. And now in this life, in this human plane, people are very separated and isolated and disconnected from each other. And it's like you can see the illness in that. You can see the danger in that, and the madness in that. When people don't work together or cannot trust in each other, societies collapse, and it becomes impossible to move forward as a species and as a race. So it's very interesting, because it seems like this non-human past experience really gave you an elevated outlook on what is happening here on Earth. And I also see that because you had this bigger sense of connection or relatability and belonging in that starseed life, it was easier for you to battle for it and take its stand for it and to want to defend it at the price of your own life. It felt natural to be at the line of defense for this other world and almost put yourself on the line for it. You may feel a bit more disengaged in this human reality, or a bit more discouraged, or like your efforts won't matter or change much or make a difference. But over there in that other life, I see that you were very engaged and you were unafraid to step forward, you know, to keep the peace and to keep the traditions or to keep the culture in a sense. But it's very beautiful for me to see and to feel how much your community over there was so tight and so connected, and to see how much everybody was contributing at making this world work for everyone and nobody was being left behind. So the beings you lived amongst in that starseed life, you lived a life that was very transcending of the self. In fact, this past life wasn't even about the self for you. It wasn't about the self at all. It was about belonging. It was about teamwork. It was about clanship, community, equality, exchange. It was about sharing, learning how to trust and depend, and also be dependable in return. So loyalty was a very big value as well with this Three of Cups. And I'm not sure if who you were at war with in this lifetime was like a different group or a different clan or different species, or if it was something else entirely. But what I'm seeing with this Three of Cups, universe, and awareness card is that in this tribe that you are identified with, everybody lived in harmony with each other, and everybody contributed to that common world or brought something on the table in their own way for the community. There wasn't anybody that felt like useless in this reality. There wasn't any greed or separation. There was only unity. And I don't know why, but I get the sense that you miss that. Like your soul misses that. I get a sense that it is a clash you are experiencing in comparison with this human world on planet Earth. I get a sense that the reality here is so far-fetched and different from the one you lived over there, that this is what is disturbing your soul a little bit here somehow, and making it a bit more difficult to like fit in or to get involved or to maybe step in your mission. But yeah, let's dive into your oracle cards now, because I'm curious to see what else your cards will have to say about that soul experience, you guys. And we have trust your path. And this card says, if you knew you would be supported, what would you do? Somehow this resonates deep. If you knew you would be supported, what would you do, pal two? If you didn't feel alone. We have here Sisterhood of the Rose, and it says beauty and devotion, priestess, mystique, teacher. So it's again that sort of like sisterhood, like clanship. Like everybody is a family type of energy. We have here innocence. Then we have agape. I think this is how you say it. Agape, I'm not sure. And then we have the animal. You definitely come from a very tight tribe or tightly knit community in this past life. And it's funny that we have the card of innocence and destruction here. It's making me think of a force that tried to destroy or maybe threaten or attack or remove that innocence in your Starseed past life. I just had the image of a book that I really love with this innocence card here. And this book is called The Ingenue by the French philosopher Voltaire. And it's funny because that's a book that I had to read in literature back in the days when I was at school, and it really gave me so much love for Voltaire. I just love his work. But yeah, this book tells the story of a man from the Huron tribe transported to Paris in the late 1600s, and it's basically a satirical criticism for the religious doctrine and the government corruption, as well as the, all of the social injustices of the time. And I guess that this innocence card made me think of the ingenue, like the ingenue, because ingenue in French, it means someone who is a bit innocent, someone that doesn't know the general social consensus or social parameters and rules, because they operate by their own, basically. And so it's a being that is very unconditioned by the world, if you see what I mean. And so what I'm seeing here for you, Palto, is a very innocent world that you lived in, or community and environment that you grew up in that past life. You grew up very sheltered from or separated from this destruction type of energy that you may have been introduced to a bit later in your life. And I guess that it's really making me think of that book as well, because I just keep feeling this like this aboriginal feel about this non-human past life in particular, like that sort of setting where your peace or your harmony has been disturbed by some kind of like external influence or external force, that could have sought like the destruction of that, the destruction of your cultures or the destruction of your world. Guys, I just had to take a few seconds out of the video to look at the description of this agape card over here, because I'm not familiar with this term. And look at what it says here. It says devotion, unconditional love. What if instead of putting yourself at the center of your spiritual practice, you put God, Goddess, or nature at the center? This is insane. Wow, so this is really making me think of that Innocence card, the universe, and awakening that came out for you. I really feel that this Starseed past life for you was extremely spiritual. And I feel that this confirms that this was a lifetime for you spent outside of the self, where instead of yourself being at the center of the world, you had nature or your spiritual beliefs or your community at the center of it, where you have maybe divinity at the center of it. The type of experience that your soul came to draw from that past life was one of communion, pal 2. Communion with the world, with others, with the divine, with nature, with animals as well, with this kind of animals here. So it's wild that we have this animal card here, because I believe, I've said that earlier, but I feel like this was a world that you had to share with different kinds of species and beings, kind of like on planet Earth, where we share a home with birds, with fish, with elephants, and all types of creatures. So in this other world that you incarnated in, it may have had its own specific flora and fauna, and your community really evolved in close understanding and study our communion and respect with that. And you remember when I said that in your reality or clan, everybody was equal with that 3 of Cups? I feel that this could have concerned nature and animals as well. Maybe that there were different types of creatures or beings that were also part of your clan and who were held to the same degree than others. Maybe then the land is what you also worshipped or revered or held to the same importance than your own life. But this spiritual paradigm that you and your people abide by was very centered around unity, around being part of a great whole. And I feel that in this human world, you kind of miss that. Not that this reality is any different, because make no mistake, that over here too, we are all connected and part of a greater whole. However, on this planet, everything man-made is built to try to separate us or to make us believe that the world evolves around our species. Our values in society are very competitive, more than they evolve around mutual aid. And that's why in the age of the internet, in the age of technology, we have never felt, ironically, so freaking disconnected from each other. And we all feel so disconnected from each other and from nature. You know, we build those huge cities, those skyscrapers, those jets to travel fast, right? We build spaceship to go out into the space. You know, we can create and imagine those amazing things, but then we rely on them to create that connection that we have with the world and that we have with each other. And it's very sad to see, because we use that as a replacement. It's very sad to see how much we are disconnected from each other, from the land and from our own nature, from the cosmos. And I always say it, how can you expect people to respect others and respect nature if they are disconnected from it? If they can't even relate to it as their home? You know, relate to animals and fellow humans as their brothers and sisters. It's hard to be a soul that comes from a world where it was so easy to understand and see that, and to keep believing in humans, to keep believing in this world and in this planet, you know, but But keep trusting in your path, Pal 2. You have been put here and brought here for a reason, because you have a different understanding of these things, and the type of understanding and wisdom that we desperately need here to turn things around. Not that it's your job to turn things around for those who can't, but just planting seeds of awareness and consciousness can go a long way. And that's what you are here to do, it seems. I'm strongly feeling that for you. I'm feeling that you came here as an earth protector or nature's advocate almost, or someone that will help us connect us back to our most primal nature, to our ancestors, to our land, to our neighbors, to the whole, to the truth that we are part of something greater than just ourselves. Call it the cosmos, God, goddess, unconditional love. You drew that baggage of experience so that you would remember that while being here, Pal 2. That's why you feel the way that you feel. That's why you feel like it's doomed sometimes. You know, it's because you remember how we are supposed to treat each other, the world, and this incarnation. But keep trusting your path and know that you are supported. In fact, I see that your starseed ancestors are behind you in this work, Pal 2. So especially if you don't have planet Earth ancestors that you can call upon and relate to, call upon your starseed ancestors whenever you need, because I see those beings you spent a non-human incarnation with being part of your spirit team now for this incarnation that you're living here. And they are there for you, so call upon them. All right? My Pal 2, this is everything that I'm getting for you about your non-human past life. I want to thank you so very much for having shared this sacred space with me today. And I also want to thank your higher self for delivering the messages I did in this reading. And I will leave, as usual, the links to my social medias down below if you wish to keep in touch with me, as well as the link to my online shop if you wish to book a private reading with me. And otherwise, I shall see you all soon in the next video. Bye bye, you guys. Welcome into your reading, Pal 3. So today we are taking a look at your non-human past experience and any memories associated with that your higher self wants to share with me today. So we're going to start with your tarot cards as well as an archetypal card to figure out the type of energy that you incarnated as, and what was this world like for you and this life like for you. And then after that, at the end, we are going to reveal your oracle cards to see if any other messages and details want to come through about the lessons or experiences that your soul came to draw from that specific incarnation, because I do believe that no incarnation is ever accidental. And each one of them, human or not, we come to pick up a piece of the puzzle to our soul's mission, because our spirit in this incarnation has its own mission, but our soul has a big picture mission that concerns all incarnations as a whole, past, present, and future. So keep that in mind while during this reading, all right? But let's get started and take a look at what is the kind of being that you guys were in that incarnation, and what was that life all about. So we are starting with the Chariot. And then we have the powerful King of Wands. And then we have the Seven of Wands reversed. Followed by the Page of Wands. And finally, as an archetype, we have the Higher Self. And this card says, stop longing, still your mind, and allow your higher self to use its infinite resources to comfort and guide you to the fulfillment of your desires. That's how the card looks like. Wow, that's like boom, lots of fire, lots of power that you wielded in your non-human past life, Pal 3. In your Starseed incarnation, you had abilities or capacities that you don't have in this current human incarnation that you're living, it seems. So that's the huge striking difference to me here. And because of that, you may have felt a lot more in control in that past life than you do in this human world. And manifestation is coming through here. In this other world or plane or reality, it was so easy for you to conjure up anything that you wanted to have or wanted to see or wanted to experience. And looking at this card of the higher self here, this past life almost feels like a lucid dream. Pile 3. And so I don't know if you have experienced lucid dreaming before, but it's that experience where you can sort of take control of your dream and direct it how you want it to happen, where where you just know and are conscious that you are in a dream state. And so you think about something and it instantly appears, or it happens immediately as you imagine it. And once in my life I had this nightmare. And for me personally, as someone that experiences sleep paralysis from time to time, I got into a habit of like asking myself each time that I am in a dream that I don't like, if I ask myself if I am dreaming, and each time I can clearly answer myself and say yes. So that one time I was having a nightmare where someone was chasing me, and as I realized that I was dreaming, I turned around and stopped running, and I faced this individual and I started commanding them. And I remember I asked them to get down on their knees, and they listened, and they did it in my dream. And then I asked them to start to undress, and they did. Kind of like in those high school, when in high school where they tell you if you are afraid to do an oral presentation, to imagine everybody in the room being naked. It was kind of like that. And I woke up laughing. Like, I remember I was laughing in my dream, and I was actually laughing in my bed, and my laugh woke me up. So, that's just a personal example here. But when you lucid dream, you can make anything crazy happen in your dreams. It's quite wild. So you had the space to get really creative and imaginative in that Starseed reality, because there seems to be this almost instant response to your actions and intentions. It's almost as though the results of your intentions came through a lot quicker and more effortlessly. It's like you didn't have to work as much in order to get the things that you wanted. And I feel that this is because in that reality, you were really connected to your higher self. You had a level of awareness and consciousness of yourself like us humans don't have unless we work at it. So when you lucid dream, if you do, or if you are a creative or someone that meditates a lot, you will know when I say that when you enter this state of flow, where your higher self takes over and you can command a reality you wish to see, it gets crazy. You can make anything happen. And I feel that it's when you are in those states, Pal 3, that's the closest from this non-human past life experience that you can get here. And so you could have an ability to go into trance or to lucid dream a lot more easily than most people. And that's because this makes your soul remember this past incarnation where you had infinite resources to fulfill your desires, like this card of the higher self says. And let me just say that when you dream, you may revisit that same world or some aspects of it. If you have dreamed of flying before, or of being a conjurer, or of being able to teleport, or if you have those those out-of-body experiences during sleep or anything like that, that's because you access your starseed abilities that you had in that past life, but you access them in your dreams now. Where when you are in your dream state, you can access back those powers and abilities you used to have in your starseed incarnation. And let me just say as well, that you may have even dreamed of that world before. I'm getting a strong sense of that with you, Pal 3, where you may have dreamed of this starseed planet or world before. That just came through. So this non-human reality also feels like it had you see and experience the world from that third view perspective, from kind of like above yourself, like a higher self perspective. So it's not like in this human experience where you see things from that first view perspective and almost never see your own reflection, where you look down and see your feet and you see your hands. It's an incarnation where you could see yourself enacting a lot more clearly, because your cards here are just screaming at me, I am. I am. So it's interesting because you had this heightened level of awareness and sight for when it came to viewing yourself, viewing where you were heading, viewing how you were interacting with the world around you. And it's like you could see yourself a lot more clearly without having to take a look in a mirror or have that self-image being reflected back at you. So you definitely knew where you were a lot more clearly than you do in this human lifetime. And another striking thing for me here is that this feels like a very strong visual experience for you, more than anything else in this Starseed incarnation. It's like the colors were a lot more vivid, or things had more motion to them, and it's like everything came alive visually in this other dimension. It almost feels like a mushroom trip to me. Like, sorry for the comparison, but it kind of feels like that a little, like a psychedelic type of experience almost. So now, with this King of Wands and this Chariot here, you may have also experienced immense success in this past incarnation, and you may have even experienced that life as a conqueror or as a leader. So maybe that you were a ruler over there, or someone that made a reputation for themselves and exceeded expectations, and you had a lot of respect. With this Seven of Wands being reversed, people knew not to cross you or not to challenge you. And there was no limit to your power that you wielded, and you could have almost anything that you wanted. And other people and their free will, or other people and their jealousy, or comparison energy, or opinions could not interfere in that past life either. Not that other people can ever take your goals away or take what is meant for you away in this human incarnation either. But you know, people having their free will and having their own energy makes it so that they can still interfere with that energy here in this human realm. And so in this human lifetime, it could be a source of frustrations for you. And that's because in that Starseed life, that wasn't even a problem. It's like it wasn't even a factor. So you could do what you wanted when you wanted, and other people's energy could not interfere with your intentions and your goals. It's almost as though everybody had access to experience what they wanted to experience without ever interfering with each other. It's quite special. I've never felt something like that in a reading before. Now, this human lifetime, in this human lifetime that you're living currently, Pile 3, there are a lot more consequences and personal accountability at play than in that past life. But over there in your non-human incarnation, it's like you can immediately shift into that chariot-like energy where it's like nothing can stop you or even hinder you or taint your victories for you. So I'm not sure if in this human life that you are currently living, you feel stopped or held back because of certain people or in your physical capacity. Maybe that your physical capacity are incapacitated in some way. This could be another possibility. But those limitations that you are dealing with right now in this world are non-existent in your Starseed world. And the thing is, I just think that in that past life, you were a lot less afraid to take risks. And that's because your power gave you a false sense of confidence. And it's not even a false sense. It's just that it's your confidence that allowed you to go this far as you did. And that's Starseed life. And I feel somehow that this is what this past life was trying to make you realize and prepare you for this human incarnation where you're dealing with a lot more limitations now with the Seven of Wands reversed. It's like this Starseed past life was just preparing you to wield your power, to wield your courage and your confidence, so that those limits will seem insignificant compared to your will and your desire, because that's what the wands speak about, right? But let's take a look at your oracle cards now, you guys, because I really want to see what else will come through about this soul experience for you. You have the Age of Light, and this card says you've been training for this for lifetimes. Interesting. Then we have the Initiation, and it says rite of passage, crossing the threshold. Then we have Abstract. Then we have Initiation. What the hell? Yep, Initiation came out twice for you guys. Yeah, that means something. We'll get into that in a moment. Then we have the Creator. And finally, we have the Riddle. This card has been coming out a lot lately in a lot of collective readings I've been doing. The world that you come from feels filled up with light with this card here of the Age of Light. And I just saw the most bright, blinding light somehow. Like I had to take a second to reel myself back in. Yeah, but it's funny because with this card of the Riddle here, I get a sense that this lifetime is so different and working under completely other rules than our world here on Earth, that if you were to take like a jet and go over there, your mind wouldn't even be able to process it or understand what is going on. It will be like a riddle. Like it will be almost incomprehensible or just plain confusing. But yeah, definitely with those cards of the Creator here and Abstract, this was a pretty abstract world where you come from, I feel, where you can make anything happen or imagine anything into reality almost. The only difference is that nothing seemed to really hold itself solidly, or there is no sense of permanency in your Starseed world, pile 3. And not that anything is permanent in this human world either, because obviously we are in a world of cycles in between life and death here. Here on Earth, everything that gets birthed has an expiration date. Everything decays, everything dies, besides maybe honey and maple syrup. I think that's what they say, right? Like the only thing that doesn't truly expire is like honey, and I think maple syrup, like excuse my Canadian ass. But yeah, this Starseed world feels like it feels kind of like a womb, like you were sitting in a womb where things were pretty formless or intangible. They would appear and then disappear almost, but nothing held itself. But in this human lifetime, things take a lot more effort and a lot more time and a lot more work to build. And that's because we're dealing with a physical realm here on Earth. We are experiencing this life not just visually, but through all of our senses. We are experiencing this human reality tangibly. Now, this is interesting that 2 cards here are speaking to me about an initiation of some kind. For when it comes to the experience your soul came to draw in that Starseed past life, it seems like this non-human life prepared you to be the initiator of your own reality, kind of like the King of Wands and Page of Wands here. It wanted you to take that experience you had developed in that past Starseed incarnation for all of your other future soul experiences, including this one. So your soul needed to experience uninhibited power so that you could train breaking out of the construct of your own limitations, or the limitations that other people tend to place upon you with that previous Seven of Wands reverse. So in that non-human lifetime, you could take what you wanted and get the things your way. And in this life, there is more fighting or battle for what you want with this card here. So this life is more brutal, more life or death, if that makes sense. And in this lifetime that you are currently living, you have to fight for what you want. And the reality is a lot more competitive as well. But look at what this card of the Age of Light says for you, Pile 3. It says, you've been training for this for lifetimes. So each of your past soul experiences built upon each other for when it comes to claiming back your power as a soul. Each soul experiences happen to make you a bit more conscious of your higher self, right? And to help you remember that nobody is allowed to tell your story. So your incarnation and what you decide to create out of it is ultimately in your own hands. Your soul knows that to a certain degree because of that incarnation, Pile 3. So even if you try to sometimes, you cannot downplay or ignore your power in this lifetime, because nobody can stop you either in this life. And it's very important that you remove this idea out of your mind completely right now. Because like I've said earlier, people can interfere all that they want, but they cannot take away what is meant for you at the end of the day. So you are the only one with the power to do that. And there is only one reason for you to be back here, but in a different vessel and reality now. And it's to experience your own potential somewhere. But in order for potential to be experienced, you need a glass ceiling to break through. And that's what your current limitations are giving you the illusion of. And right now, I'm not saying that your pain, okay, or the people that wrong you or hurt you are not real. That's not what I mean here. Your pain is not an illusion, but the limitations and those challenges created, what they created in your mind are the illusion. So it's not a coincidence that your realm of dreams is what has the most in common with your starseed reality. Because in your dreams, your logical mind doesn't even have power there. So what your soul needs to defeat is the illusion of powerlessness that this new world is serving you, Pile 3. Don't buy into that. There is something you have been training for lifetimes at doing. Lifetimes. Including in this Starseed experience, you had to train in that different reality so that you will know how to do it in this human world. So this fight that you are experiencing with the Seven of Wands reverse here feels more like an internal fight that was conjured so that you will develop the willpower to keep going. Even if life isn't going your way right now, or you can't seem to have what you want without a fight, you've experienced this Starseed life so that you could know and understand no matter where you find yourself in the universe and no matter what your surroundings look like or your circumstances look like, that no matter what happens, you are still responsible for taking control over your own reality. With this Chariot and King of Wands here, do you think that kings take order? No, kings, they direct, right? They are the orchestrator of their own play. So the Starseed part of you and your higher self wants you to remember this experience so that you can lean back on that great amount of willpower that you are still capable of. And this past soul experience is not so detached in your current reality as you think, Pal 3. That's the thing. This is about realizing that even if people in this lifetime are maybe disagreeing with you or trying to place their own agenda over you, you will never be a victim. You will never be their victim. And you have never been. You know, you are this person who has the final word on what you are capable of and what type of destiny you will get to live. You know, your power was always and will always be in your own hands. And in that Starseed world, you held the brush very firmly with this card of the Creator here. And in this lifetime, it seems a bit harder because there are different obstacles that you weren't confronted with in that other universe. But your Starseed experience is what is trying to contact you back, because it wants you to remember that even without this challenge being in the way, you will still have to put in the work to accomplish the things that you want to accomplish. So remember that you have been in training for a lifetime for this, Pal 3. And for lifetimes, your power has already proven itself to you times and times again. And now it is up to you if you want to keep blaming the world or your predicaments, but know that nothing in this world is big enough or powerful enough to stop your soul. Yes, your body has its limits, but not your soul. And your soul will always find a way where the body can't. That's why they say, right, that the mind is a lot stronger than the body, kind of like when you go training or test the limits of your body in a physical activity, right? They say that the mental always gives up before the body does. Well, it's the same for our soul. Spirit endures. Pal 3, this is everything that I'm seeing for you about your non-human past life. I want to thank you so very much for having shared this sacred space with me today. And thanks to your higher self for the messages that it has delivered through this reading. And as usual, I will leave the links to my social medias down below if you wish to keep in touch with me, as well as the link to my online shop if you wish to book a private reading with me. And otherwise, I shall see you all soon in the next video. Bye bye, you guys. Welcome into your reading, Pal 4. So today we are taking a look at your non-human past life experience and any memories associated with that, that your higher self wants to share with me today. And we are going to start with your tarot cards first, as well as an archetypal card to figure out what kind of energy you incarnated as and what was that world like for you and this life like for you. And then at the end, we are also going to reveal your oracle cards in the second section of the reading to see if any other details and messages want to come through about the lessons or experiences that your soul came to draw from that specific incarnation. Because I do believe that no incarnation is ever accidental. And each one of them, human or not, we come to pick up a piece of the puzzle to our soul's mission, because our spirit in this incarnation has its own mission, but our soul has a big picture mission that concerns all incarnations as a whole, past, present, and future. So keep that in mind during the reading, all right? But let's get started if you guys are ready and see what kind of being you were in that incarnation and what was that life like for you, Pal 4. So we are starting with the Ace of Cups. Then we have the Hierophant. I'm becoming a lot better with this word, you guys. I remember, I think it was the first reading I've ever done on YouTube. And I was really struggling to say this word, Hierophant. I feel like I'm becoming a little bit better at it now. I've got a hang of it. Then we have the King of Cups. And finally, we have transformation. And that's the card of death in a traditional tarot deck. And as an archetypal card for you guys, you have the Grace, and it says, forgive yourself and anyone else in your situation, even if you or they do not deserve it. To forgive is to mirror the divine forces who love us. And that's how the card looks like. Okay. It's interesting how this King of Cups here has like a halo around his head. It's kind of making me think of that crown here, or headdress, that the woman on this card is wearing. But pile 4, as soon as I connected with your cards and energy, I saw water. I saw myself surrounded in this element. Now, I'm not sure if this means that the world you come from is a world of water or something else similar, but I guess it's as close as I can get with my human perception. But you know, us humans, we need air to breathe, right? And I feel that in this non-human past life, it was something else for you. Like you and your community depended on a body of water to survive. Water may have played a very important role, and I get the feeling that just like here on Earth, on that other planet, because this is what it feels like to me. It feels like another planet. And water was the dominating element over there. And I feel that you will resonate with that if in this current incarnation that you're living, water is an important tool for your journey. And maybe that you live nearby water as well, or make the effort to go near water quite often. I get the sense that this element could be very healing for you, could be very rejuvenating, very cleansing for you. Water represents life force energy. It is such a powerful element, and it can also represent essence, creation, flow, resurrection, and even paradise. So with his card of Grace and his King of Cups and his Ace of Cups here, and even his card of transformation, I see you master this element and its energy in your non-human incarnation, which is why you could have such a strong connection over here in this realm to this element somehow. You also mastered some healing abilities over there, is what I'm getting with this Ace of Cups here. You had a gift or capacity to rejuvenate yourself, heal yourself, and possibly others too. And this gift with the Ace of Cups carried over into this human incarnation. So some of you are even meant to teach it, is something that I'm getting with this Hierophant here. But the other world you incarnated at pile 4 feels definitely very graceful and a lot more peaceful than in this realm. And this makes me think personally about how I felt when I was underwater, because for those of you who don't know, I'm also a diver. This is one of like my favorite hobbies of all time. I just find marine biology so fascinating. But you know, when you go underwater 30 meters down, or just 20 or even just 10 meters down, it's like you're in a completely different world. It's like you're completely immersing yourself in another world that is almost alien-like. And it's like suddenly all of your worries, all of your life at the surface is left at the surface, and you become a part of this world for a moment. And it's like your breathing becomes a lot slower. And so this really induces relaxation. And it's like your body slows down to the rhythm of the wildlife over there, of the waves, of the water. And if there is one thing that being underwater taught me, is definitely grace. How to find flow with the rest of nature, how to slow down so that I wouldn't empty my oxygen tank so quickly, right? And so that I could stay there under longer. So this grace card here feels like it has its place here with this underwater realm. And I feel that this other world, it was a lot calmer, it was a lot slower, it was a lot less stressful than this human world. And I can immediately tell that this Starseed experience was a lot more comfortable for you than your reality over here. It seems so calming and actually almost perfect. And I'm sure if you were to revisit that place, it would probably have the same effect that I was describing when I go underwater. It's like your worries go away and you can just be at peace and in connection with your surroundings and just float and just be there. This also feels like in this other world, there was nothing more to do than to be in total communion with some kind of spiritual force or higher power with this Hierophant here. So spirituality or some kind of religious system may have been the structure for you and your peers to live by. It's what provided a meaning and a sense to this existence in the world that you lived in. So there was no higher authority than a spiritual guru or spiritual teacher or spiritual oracle. And I feel with this Hierophant and King of Cups that this was your role in your non-past life. In your non-human past life, sorry, about 4. So you may have been some kind of like spiritual messiah or like spiritual teacher or spiritual guide or leader. You could have been some kind of priest or priestess to a deity as well that your community worshipped with this Hierophant over here. But it seems like you had a connection to spirit that allowed you to communicate and deliver messages on its behalf. People respected you and honored you because just like this Hierophant and King of Cups, you were the one or one of the few people that people were going to in order to get the spiritual understanding and answers that they needed. So people listened to you here, it seems, and they gathered around you even to learn from you. So you could have also conducted ceremonies whenever someone was passing with this card of transformation here that replaces the death card. And it's very special because with this card of transformation, I get the sense that in this incarnation, you and your people had a different understanding about death. It's like you viewed death not as the end, but as like this energetic recycling process. You viewed it as a transformation where that person wasn't really completely gone, but they just became something else. So this underwater society that you come from seems very spiritually advanced and spiritually complex, possibly a lot more than here on Earth. And another thing that is striking to me about this non-human incarnation as well is that it feels more like a felt type of experience to me, most and above all, with that strong cups energy over here. So there wasn't a lot of stimuli or a lot of things happening, but it felt more like a quiet and still type of experience. So it wasn't an outward kind of experience. It was more so of an internal one where you could just be held and feel safe. So if you are the type of person in this current incarnation that you are living that needs a lot of time and space on their own, or who gets quickly overwhelmed by crowds and by a lot of noise or a lot of stimuli, maybe that you prefer to be around quiet people as well. And that's why your soul is not really used to that, and it had to adapt to how fast and loud and overstimulating our human world can get. And I feel that in order to thrive in this current incarnation that you're living, you may need that regular safe space that you can come back to and just be in your own energy and just be by yourself. You may need that for your mental health and for your physical and emotional well-being. So, you know, when there is too much noise or distractions around you, you may feel more disconnected from yourself and from spirit. And in order to feel that connection again, you may need that quiet and that stillness. That's when you may feel most like yourself. And you know what? There is nothing wrong with that. Like, I know that in the world that we live in, society has like opposite values than obviously in your Starseed realm, Balfour. Where here it's not really about practicing peace and practicing grace, but we value productivity instead, and achievements and success. And not that these things are not great as well, right? But somehow I get the feeling that those who feel connected to this path, you guys feel drawn to the esoteric arts and to the more so spiritual kind of lifestyle. And I feel that it's because as a Starseed, you came to teach that way of life of your other world in here. I feel that you're coming to restore some kind of balance and bring healing and peace to this world by teaching people how to slow down, or how to heal themselves with this Ace of Cups and card of transformation here. How to show poise and grace. How to meditate maybe. How to connect themselves to spirit. You know, some of you may also teach yoga or teach breathing techniques as well. I don't know why, but that just came through as a funny detail. But your gifts carried over in this world so that you could use them again and guide people here, or bring them back on track with a divine way to live, a life that is a lot more zen or worry-free or stress-free. And also, I don't know why, but the nervous system is also coming through here to me. So this could also be another thing that you may get interested to tap into in this lifetime, or in your teachings, like where you could show people how to relax their nervous system, or maybe reprogram it entirely. But you really came here to teach the ways of that world, almost to teach the sacred ways of that world, because you guys are like the Hierophant. You're the holder of some ancient knowledge that you came to bring down here. So let's take a look at your oracle cards, you guys, to see what else will come through about that past life and soul experience. So we have here, look at that, you guys. We have deep replenishment, and it says retreat, rest, be held. Yeah, that's how I feel about that past life. Then we have Pillar of Light, and it says your vibration is rising. You are the oracle. Then we have Noche Oscura. Then we have Rebirth. Then we have the Poet. Finally, we have the Temple. Even on these cards of Pillar of Light and deep replenishment, do you see what's there? There's water. There's water at the background of each of these cards. So a picture is starting to draw itself for me in my third eye, and I can almost see it clearly. And this other world that you come from as well, Pal 4, water is definitely the dominating element. And I see that the few parts that are reaching at the surface of that water are very deserted. Like there might be no life on the surface. And I also see in your cards like a beautiful night sky over this water. So the nights over there could be very long, or it's even possible that this world is a very dark world, and not dark in a bad way, Pal 4, but like I've said, there wasn't much stimuli. So maybe that when you are underwater, that's when you can see a lot of beings, a lot of colors and things happening. And maybe when you go at the surface, this could be where this world gets totally still. So you know what I just had a mental image of? Just had an image of, like, you know those salt baths where people go to in order to have like a total relaxation experience or spiritual experience? It's like you need a a shit ton of salt to make it work. And then the water needs to be at that exact same temperature of the human body, right? So not warmer, not colder. They place this pool in a room where it's total pitch black. And that's so that your body and senses can get cut from all of that stimuli and bodily sensations, and so that you can feel light as a feather. And all that you have to think about is that complete internal experience that is going on within yourself, you know, with your thoughts and with your feelings. And so I've never tried it myself, but like a lot of people say that those salt pools like that, I've heard someone said before that it induced them in like the deepest meditation state that they have ever been. And some people go seek spiritual types of experiences in there too, with like psychedelics and stuff like that. Like I've seen in a documentary before, people who would do psychedelics in these pools in order to have a powerful spiritual experience. So, you know, your non-human past incarnation really made me think of that for a second, because I feel that it's an experience of total immersion into relaxation, of healing, and inner spiritual communion as well. And this world spoke to you a lot on metaphorical levels always is also another thing that I see with this poet card here. And it's funny that the Pillar of Light here is saying that you are the oracle, because I said something similar earlier, I believe. And that you might have been like a spiritual teacher or spiritual oracle of some kind. And I get a feeling that this Starseed experience for you was all about spiritual recharge, power. This past life was almost like a spiritual retreat to your soul, is the best way that I can describe it somehow. And somehow you needed that. This life was solely designed so that your soul could accumulate the spiritual knowledge or understanding that it needed in order to carry out its mission in a human experience and in its other future soul experiences as a whole as well. So there is a different way of life that you may practice in this human lifetime as a result. And it's a way of life that is very uncommon and misunderstood by a lot of people here, because it concerns the art of stillness and beingness. And I feel that you're meant to teach it somehow, either directly or indirectly. That's why you came here with similar set of gifts or abilities than the ones you were practicing in your non-human incarnation. You came to bring that baggage that your soul learned from in that spiritual retreat here and apply it into a human world now. So your soul needed that experience in order to see life from another angle. It was so that you could move forward with this understanding that our problems here in this human incarnation are really just as deep as we make them to be. And we are not contrived by them, but we can allow them to rebirth us into a more fluid being, a more open being, a more spiritually aligned type of being. We have the card of rebirth here, and this card feels linked to this card like of transformation, obviously, that is like a death card in a tarot deck. So you know how to rebirth yourself in a way that a lot of people here can't for. And that's because you have learned this technique or this ability elsewhere, and you have also mastered it elsewhere. Now your soul wants you to remember that and not get confused or lost or pulled so far into this external reality that you have here on earth that is very convincing that you forget that this is all subjective at the end of the day and a question of personal spiritual perspective. Because as tangible and as solid as it all looks like here, nothing is permanent. Everything is going to have to die or decay or deteriorate someday. So this Starseed incarnation is all about reminding you that your issues or your pain that you could be experiencing here with this card of Noche Oscura are so powerless compared to your capacity to heal them. So this Noche Oscura here represents emotional pain that you may have had to heal here or emotional difficulties that could be disturbing your peace or healing or rebirth process. But Pile 4, you are the oracle. You are the answer. The answers to your pains are not out there in the external world, but they are right here inside of you. And how other people and situations make you feel and leave you feeling. So don't get tricked into thinking that the medicine is somewhere outside of you and something that needs to happen or needs to move or needs to come in to save you, because that's not true. You are living an internal experience still. And the Starseed part of you is here to remind you of that, to not get so far off the track and get tricked by the physical world and what is happening in it, that you forget about that internal experience. And don't hesitate to connect to your Starseed world in meditation or by maybe visualizing it, and to take your emotional distress or emotional turmoil to that sacred space over there. Because I get the sense that when you are over there, even if it's just in your mind, like in your subconscious, it's going to feel a lot easier to see a way out or to process all of that safely. Where you come back and you see a solution or guidance to deal with it, or you feel calmer, or at the very least, you feel differently about it. But that's the point in you remembering that incarnation I see. It's so that you don't forget about your gifts and why they were given to you. It's so that you don't forget about the internal part of this experience as well, this human experience too. But Pile 4, this is everything that I'm getting for you about your non-human past life. I want to thank you so very much for having shared this sacred space with me. And I want to thank your higher self as well for the messages that it delivered in that reading today. And as usual, I will leave the links to my social medias down below if you wish to keep in touch with me, as well as the links to, the link to my online shop if you wish to book a private reading with me. And otherwise, I shall see you all soon in the next video. Bye bye, you guys.